thing about doing these episodes consecutively is that sometimes I find out information about a game way later. In this case, it's because Chitei Tairiku Ordola is part of an entire series of educational games that Sunsoft made in conjunction with textbook publisher Ask Kodansha. We've already seen the first game in this series, Adia no Tsue, and I don't know if I can really call this the second or third game in the series, because the second and third games were released on the same day. At least these are the last two in the series. We'll see the other one, Superboy Alan, in a few days. March 27th, 1987 was kind of a busy day for the Disk System. The focus of Chitei Tairiku Ordola is on decimals. Not really any kind of complicated decimal math, just understanding the relationships. Similar to Adia no Tsue, there are two game modes. One is a race where you complete stages by answering math problems. Here, to enter the answer, you have to highlight the numbers, hit A, and press B when you want a decimal point. If you score perfectly in a round, then you skip the next one. The real meat here is the action game, and it's pretty clear that Sunsoft modeled this on Atlantis no Nazo. And if you know Atlantis no Nazo, you just groaned. That game was one of Sunsoft's first big hits, and it involved an explorer traversing caverns, attacking monsters with some very delayed bombs, and having to find many painfully hidden secrets. And all of that carries over to Chitei Tairiku Ordola. Your goal in the game is to explore the underground continent, and that means making your way through 30 stages of platforming. You have to find a few key items to advance past certain blocks in the game, and those items are hidden invisibly across the previous 10 areas. If you miss one, then you'll have to go backwards, and to do that you'll have to find invisible warps. Hopefully you didn't stumble into an invisible warp that forced you to skip ahead of items that you required. Yeah, this one's a bit of a mess. The A button jumps and the B button throws bombs. They'll hit the ground and then explode after a few seconds. On the positive side of things, you can hurt some enemies by throwing bombs directly into them. You don't have to wait for them to explode. On the negative side, finding hidden items and opening up passages requires that your bomb land exactly in the correct spot and then explode. So if it was slightly misaligned, then you don't get it, and there's a good chance you'll think that you've already checked that spot. The bats that bounce up and down from the ceiling are invulnerable, but you can hit the creatures that crawl along the floor. The ones that you really want to get are the little monsters that bounce up and down. When you hit one of these with a bomb, the game stops and you have to answer a math problem. And here, hitting up and down change the value, hitting left and right alter what you're editing, sometimes. Other times it enters what you have as the solution, or hitting the A button enters the solution. Having 3 different interfaces to put in your answers to these math problems is not confusing at all, and it definitely didn't cause me to misenter a lot of things. Look, with all of its other faults, this is still intended to be an educational game. And that means consistency is important. Players shouldn't first have to think about what method they're going to use to enter the solution. Moving on from there, you have to collect 3 correct answers, and then at the end of the stage, you can use a bomb on a spot and it will open the passage to the next area. There is one item that you can find that you're able to use, and that's this log which is set across a hole when you press down and B if you're in exactly the right spot. Don't go back looking for more math problems to answer though, because if it leaves the screen, it's gone forever. And you can't collect the log again, so you're stuck. This game also has some weirdly difficult platforming, because if you hit your head, you lose your forward momentum. You also look like you slam into walls, but you still have some air control even as you're kind of flattened against the surface. You have 3 lives, and when you get a game over, you're given the option to save your progress or continue. Shockingly, kids in Japan at the time hated this game. I know, go figure. Nobody has fond memories here, though it's not like it's a popular bad game to go back and revisit either. And yeah, this game has horrible action, horrible stage design, includes that awful thing from 1987 where they hide everything you need to progress, and they didn't even integrate the math especially well with the game. Chitei Tairiku Ordola is one of the more unpleasant things I've played on the FDS. My fingers are crossed that that third educational game that Sunsoft released isn't nearly as bad as this.